You've got the blue and gold postgame show here as A&T falls 68-7 to UCF with Swann. Donal, Ware with you here now. This was definitely a tough one for A&T, and you like to at least see at the end you were able to get some points on the board.
Right.
Maybe something to build upon for the next game against Hampton, as you mentioned, a conference game. First home game of the season. And Shamik Blizzard with the big 17-yard touchdown run. He had a long of 44 on that same drive. He was able to break the 44-yarder, finished 11 carries, 75 yards, gets his first rushing touchdown of the season.
And I think that's something that the Aggies can build on. And, I mean, to be realistic, we knew coming into this game what to expect. UCF is in the Big 12. Power conference with a power budget, got some really talented players and lots of them. 63 new players this year, and they were, according to Coach Frost, they're still trying to gel, but we saw the speed that they had tonight in terms of making big plays. And the big concern, of course, for A&T is that quarterback position because, as I said, we start the league next week against Hampton, and we, I guess, won't know until next week what the status of Braxton Thomas will be. But I think with the freshman, if he gets some chance, get some reps next week, I think he has we only saw a sample through one pass, but boy, it looked really good. I mean, it really did. Came out of it with a lot of velocity and a nice release. And so if he is forced to play next week, and I don't want to use the word forced, but if he has to play next week, I think a good week of practice, and I think he'll be able to do some good things.
Get the glasses here. Of course, you can get your comment into the chat as it's Galler says, hard to stomach. What are the truly winnable games this year? Tough to watch, but we love A&T regardless. Well, I think to the point you made, Al, this is a Big 12 opponent.
Yeah.
And so you start next week. Now you've got, Hampton on the schedule coming in, and we'll see, as you mentioned, what the quarterback situation looks like.
Right.
And see, Ice Cold says, well, now we got to see what the third string freshman is made of. Got to give him more throws, but we don't know the extent of the injury of Braxton Thomas, nor do we know the extent of the injury of Champ Long. But to his point, Ice Cold's point, basically what A&T was trying to do was get out of here without any injuries.
Exactly,
so you didn't see a lot from Walls. However, he may need to step up. If he's the guy, they're going to definitely need to have him get the reps this week in practice.
Exactly. I can really understand them limiting him in terms of throwing the ball because we don't know the situation with Thomas and Long. And if he is the only quarterback left, and if he gets hurt, what are you going to do starting league next week? So I can understand him, limiting him in terms of throwing the football. And if he is going to be the player, you got an entire week to give him all the reps that he needs and to work on your game plan, getting ready for Hampton next week.
Hans says, my brothers, nothing much to say after this 4-hour hazing incident. Wakanda wasn't built in a day, and neither will the reconstruction of this program. Good to hear from you, as a matter of fact, Hans. But I mean, yeah, it's going to take some time. But again, this is 2 levels up from what you played last week. I mean, look, Tennessee State was getting blown out by North Dakota at home.
At home, yeah.
Okay, so this is 2 levels up than what we played against last week, because now you're talking about, if the next level up is just an FBS opponent or group of 5, then you're talking about Power 5. So, but again, it was promising, looked better at least last week. This week, not so much, but you're stepping up.
You're stepping up, and I think one of the things that Coach Gibbs said this week was really interesting. He said, you got players on UCF that's making more than the coaches here at A&T. And that's probably true. I mean, they had 63 transfers, and their third string quarterback transferred in from Miami, and we saw the skill level that he had. And so that just gives you some idea. If your third string quarterback is playing that well or has that kind of ability, I mean, what does it say about the other 2? So you're right. I mean, it was a tough game for A&T to have to come in, and after a disappointing loss last week to Tennessee State, and back it up with a game against a team like this. So, I mean, it's hard to swallow, but it's understandable.
Edward says, what happened or didn't happen to lose the game 68-7? A lot of big plays. I mean, from the onset with the 95-yard kickoff return, the opening play of the game, and it just kind of went downhill from there. As a matter of fact, a lot of big plays today by the Knights.
Yeah, we mentioned before the game that one of the things that Aggies needed to do in order to be successful, however you wanted to define success, was to limit the big plays, and they just were not able to do so, starting with the opening kickoff, and which was returned for 95 yards and a touchdown. And you could see the disparity in terms of the quality of talent, and it just showed. They just had a lot of good players that had the ability to make big plays, and they did. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Laurie says, let's go Walls. Fluffer says, I'm so disappointed we have to stop scheduling these games. Well, a couple of things. One, it's a money game, so-called money game. It helps to fund the football program, helps to fund athletics. I think if Braxton Thomas plays, it's a different game. It could possibly be a different game. Although, again, A&T gave up the big play to start the game, but this helps the athletics program as a whole.
Right, and losing Braxton Thomas was huge, because when you're not able to generate any type of threat offensively, I mean, it puts the other team's defense at a big advantage down. Those guys knew that we weren't in a position to throw the ball, so they just played just solid run defense, just pinned their ears back and just constantly kept pressure. And, of course, they could do that because they knew that the situation we were in from a quarterback standpoint.
Earthel says this will be our toughest game of the season. Suck it up, learn from it. And we lost because we had a couple of other people. Okay, he says suck it up, learn from it, and bring out best effort next week. Let's see. Ice Cold says despite the blowout, you can still tell the guys were playing hard. Hans says Hampton struggled to get past Elizabeth City State, and Central got rolled. He says got rolled by ODU. So there's hope for a couple of wins. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point because Elizabeth City State is rebuilding under Adrian Jones. It's his first season after the many years at Shaw, and look, anything can happen next week. I don't, to this point, I'm not sure this is the same Hampton team like we saw, at least that was playing well for a moment before they lost the last 5 games of the season. But anything can happen. Look, we played up tonight. We played up. We played up
Right.
2 levels from what we saw last week and 2 levels from what we're going to see next week. So, look, this got like good players. If you were positive, I thought we saw some really positive things next week that would lead me to believe that we could have success next Saturday against Hampton.
I agree 100%, Donal. And again, the big question is going to be that quarterback position. I mean, how serious is Braxton Thomas's injury? But looking at Jai Walls tonight, I really believe that given a full week of practice, the Aggies coaching staff can put together a game plan that is going to lead to success next week against Hampton.
Yep. Let's see. Stevens Lee says, strangely, I'm optimistic. It seems as though there were some positives. This will be a journey. It will take a little time to rebuild and get back to winning. Also, let's be clear, this was a Power 4. Very, very true. And let's see. Tanya says, the biggest thing for me is risking our players' health for upcoming games that matter. And that's why you saw the Aggies do what they did. It's a good point, Tanya. That's why you saw the Aggies do what they did in terms of trying. And really, when they were just trying to run out the clock, they got something positive. Shameik Blizzard had the 44-yard run, and then he also had the 17-yard touchdown run. And so we'll see what happens. Earthel, these guys did not quit, and that says a lot. And look, we're going to give Paul the last comment because we got to get out. Like, we got a plane to catch. We don't want to miss that. We don't want to be stuck here in Orlando. Nope. Hampton struggled with Elizabeth City. Should be a better game for A&T next week. So that's the last word from Paul in the chat. Al, any last words?
Well, I think that the score speaks for itself, but I agree there's reason to be optimistic. And Coach Gibbs knew what he was in for in terms of rebuilding this program, and it's something that we're going to have to be patient about. But I really like the overall change in attitude, the overall change in culture, and I think that's something that's going to really bode well for us as we go into our schedule in terms of league and for future seasons here at A&T. I really believe that.
Next up for the Aggies, Hampton comes to Truist Stadium on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University. Yours truly, Al Swann, Billy Covington. We're coming on with the pregame show at 6:30 on the Aggie Sports Radio Network. Thank you to all of you all who put your comments in the chat. Again, we're going to wrap this thing up a little bit early, but we'll be back with you next week on the Blue and Gold postgame show. Don't forget about the Coaches Show, which airs on the A&T YouTube and Facebook pages, is uploaded on Wednesday. We tape the show live on Mondays at the Student Union on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University. Thank you to Des back at the studios of the Aggie Sports Radio Network for all of his great work. For Al Swann, Donal, so long for now. From UCF here in Orlando, your final score, UCF 68 and North Carolina A&T 7. You've been listening to Aggie Football on the Aggie Sports Radio Network.